Hi, welcome to today's video. I'm going to be taking you through my first field notes. I finished this off yesterday, and then I'll set up my next book as well. Just to recap briefly, a few weeks ago I bought my first pack of field notes. I bought this birch bark set. So I've got this first one, this next one that I'll move into, and then there's another one in the set. Whoops. I'd seen a few people in the past use field notes for a commonplace book, and I'd been eyeing them up for a while, and I thought, do you know what, you never know unless you try, sort of thing. So this is the first one, and I filled it up in less than a month. So I think realistically I'm not going to be in field notes forever, because that's going to end up being quite a lot of money to spend, but it does show me that this sort of size is handy for me. So I can start looking at more budget-friendly options, not to get too distracted. But I did, for example, pick up this grey Muji notebook. It's an A6 size, grid patterned. So just as an example, you know, it's slightly bigger, but that might be the sort of thing that I move into once I'm done with the field notes. But we'll see how things go. I'm thinking about what my options might be going forward. So to talk you through this first field notes, so just starting with the front cover, you can see maybe it's got a few dents and scuffs in it, so that's kind of part of the charm with these books, is that, you know, they might get a bit ropey, might take a few hits, but it's absolutely fine, and it's weathered the storm, so to speak. I think that's one of the things that helped me feel so comfortable in it so quickly. So yeah, just on the front cover, I've got a print off of an old photo of some trick-or-treaters, and then I stamped the word 1 on here. I'm going to look to basically mirror this with a photo on the front of this next one, and I'll stamp the word number 2 on shortly. So I've got my name stamped here, a little bit of an introduction about what I want the book to be like. This sticker is from Rhiannon's Halloween sheet last year, and then I've got my key. I'm going to be slightly adjusting this because, for example, I've got a separate tag here for work notes versus my personal notes. But with the type of work that I'm doing at the moment, with it being creative work, art, that sort of thing, I'm really finding that the two essentially mesh together. So for the time being, I think I'm probably just going to keep that all under one colour. So yeah, I've started off with some notes from On Keeping a Notebook by Joan Didion. That's always a nice way to sort of move into a book. Another Megan sticker here. I've got a few more quotes as well. So I did this initially just to help feel moved into the book. I might do this to a degree again, but I don't think I necessarily need to be this full on with it. Now I know that the size and so on does suit me. So I've got Virginia Woolf, Sylvia Plath. I've got a really nice poem here by Ren Coloni. I'll see if I can find it, or I might, you know, put this on the screen for you to sort of see. I read it as part of an anthology, and it's just been a big comfort in the last few weeks. So yeah, a few more quotes. I've been writing a lot in this book about autism. I don't know how much detail I'll keep in this, but essentially I was recently diagnosed, recently assessed, and one of my interests is neurodivergence and autism in itself. So there's been this side of finding resources to help me look after myself and look after my needs, but then also I'm just interested in psychology, neurology. So there's a mix of resources of things to think about when I'm struggling, but then also notes just from studies that I've read that I found interesting. Yep, I've got a to-do list here. Those will pop up now and again. Usually those will just go in my A6 Hobonichi book, but sometimes if I'm trying to plan in advance, then it'll go in here. Polaroid photo from a holiday. Some notes about memory and the nature of how autism can affect your memory. This is a cutout of a piece from Yoshitomi Nara. Hopefully I've pronounced their name right. I'll put it on the screen. This is a sticker from the Nottingham Horror Collective. I ordered a zine from them. So it's this zine. It's called Last Closet on the Left. They've done a number of zines, but this was an LGBT focused one. And it's sort of about how people within the queer community can relate to horror as a genre, and a lot of key themes that came up. So yeah, this was good fun. This was really cool. And as a freebie, they gave me a few stickers as well. So that's one of those stickers. A couple of Megan stickers here as well. This is cut off just from an image I found on Pinterest. I'm not too sure on the source. Excuse me, sorry if I'm sniffly or anything like that, by the way. I've got hay fever and it's annoying. So some more quotes, a couple of poems as well. It's strange, I often don't necessarily think of myself as someone who particularly enjoys poetry, but then there's a few poems that I come back to time and time again, and they're nice to write up. Yeah, just a receipt from my local library, just so I had it as a... I'd written in my A6 that I needed to return things, but having the physical receipt, I just like the idea of having little mementos like that. And it's helped with the bulk in the A6 a bit, sticking some things in here. But also, yeah, it was just a good extra reminder that I needed to return the books. Some notes from a psychological study. And I think what's been helpful with this is looking at studies, looking at how the findings of those studies kind of affirm my own personal experiences. It's helped me feel a bit less alone, and it's given me points of reflection as well. I'm hoping to have some follow-ups and that sort of thing, so this will be a useful thing potentially to take with me or make further notes from to then take with me. A couple more Megan stickers down here. Yeah, what I've been finding, because my A6 doesn't have weekly layout, I've tended throughout whichever book, you know, I've used as my supplementary book this year, I've tended to feel the need to write a weekly to-do list of some sort. So yeah, that's popped up here. Some notes about horoscopes, some notes about upcoming videos. On that note, I think I'm going to be approaching things slightly differently from July onwards, and each week I'm thinking that I'm going to capture little snippets from each day in sort of a vlog style, but then on one day of each of the weeks that passes, I'll sit down and do a clip that's along the lines of this sort of thing. So it'll be snippets of every day, but then if people don't want to see that, they can just skip forward to the bit that resembles what I'm doing here. So each week will have a focus. So for example, I imagine that first week of July will be me setting up the second half of my Avec. Yeah, I think that's potentially just a bit more of a sustainable way of doing things for me. So yeah, just some little notes about that. Some notes about moving into the second half of the Avec and the feeling of a fresh start. And also looking at potentially using some of my pages in different ways, adding more trackers in there around my health and my well-being. Yes, a few notes about this. Oh, these are notes from 5 Ways of Talking About Crypt Time. It's an article that I've been recommended a few different times from a few different sources, and I finally sat down and read it. And it was interesting, and it sort of led me to look at other articles and books about crypt time as well. Yeah, I went to a webinar about designing homes for autistic people with sensory differences, so I took some notes on that. Some more quotes, and then I took some quotes from a couple of the articles that were in the Nottingham Horror Zine as well. Oh yeah, here I've got a poster that I was given at a Pride event at the weekend. I've got another poem here, and then I've got a list for this week. And then on the back, just on this very last page, I've got a receipt from the post office. I posted a couple of things yesterday, one of which is quite high value, and I've got like the insurance on it. So a bit like with that library receipt, it's a way to make sure that I've actually got the receipt in a place I can find it. And I think sometimes having little snippets from life, when they add up, you know, it's an interesting cumulative effect that you have there. That's that first field notes. I'll pop that on the side for now. And here's my new fresh one. Also, if anyone was interested, when I first set this book up, I had a bit of a panic about the fact that these grids were green. Luckily, I was able to acclimatise quite quickly. I think I just sort of got on with filling the pages out, and I was able to tune it out a little bit. I think had it been a really intense green or, you know, a darker grid, it might have been a bit more problematic, but it was okay in the end. I will see how I get on with this next book because it's yellow grids, and it's strange. When I look at it, my eyes can kind of ignore it at times, but then at others it feels really garish. Maybe it's just due to how sort of sensitive my eyes are at that particular moment in time. But anyway, we'll look at the front cover, we'll set up my key. I think that's a good place to start. So yesterday when I finished that first field notes, I pulled a couple of images, a couple of stamps and scraps of paper that I thought I might want to use for this second book. Let's have a look. So initially I eyed this particular picture up because it's a continuation of the sort of spooky, gloomy vibe that I had with the first one. So that's definitely a contender. But then my other thought was, well, where are we now? Mid-June, going into July. Maybe something that was a bit more colourful might be good. So like I've got this forest, for instance. But then, you know, as an antithesis to that again, I've also got this sort of misty looking field as well. Let's have a think. Where have I put that? Okay, I think I am going to keep it spooky. I'm going to go with this one. Where is my glue stick? There we go. I hate the feeling of getting glue on my fingers, but then it means that the corners turn up, so I feel like I'm in a bit of a lose-lose situation there. Okay, it's a bit wonky, but I think that's sort of part of the charm with these sorts of things, isn't it? Just pop this under there just in case that ink is still wet. Oh, and actually let's keep up with tradition and put my name in here as well. So okay, lovely. So I'll do my introduction here in a little minute. I like to have a picture in the corner, so I picked a couple of different options out. I think quite like that stamp. Quite like this Yoshitomo character. I'd also just looked at the star. I thought that was quite nice. I think maybe I'll go for this character here. If anyone wanted to know, I'm just using a standard Pritt stick in this. In my Hobonichi book, I tend to use glue dots or glue tape because of how delicate that paper is. However, what I found in the first field notes is that the glue stick is absolutely fine. The other thing that might be of interest as well is in the last field notes, I used a few different pens, primarily the Hobonichi freebie one. I've also been using this Sarasa clip one, absolutely fine, but I'd also been sort of changing pens a bit towards the end of my A6, and I decided quite conclusively that I massively prefer the Pilot friction pen in the A6. So I'm going to use the Pilot friction pen pretty exclusively in this as well, because usually I carry the two books together. Usually I've got just the one pen on me, and it just helps me be a bit more consistent. So I'm just going to open this up to make it, so I've got that as a reference point. I'm going to move the pencil board out of the way because I've got a bit of glue on it. What I found quite helpful about using this book and grids in general is it's helped my dots be a little bit less wonky than normal. They're still not perfect, but what I found was when I was using lined notebooks is that they'd just be absolutely all over the shop. So this gives me a little bit of stability at least. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting started in this book. Oh, another thing I need to do is put the margins in. I found that generally speaking, having it 5 squares across was pretty helpful for me. I don't write tons of notes in the margins, but I write it, you know, when I do, it tends to sort of fill out, you know, quite a lot of space really. So I'll draw those in and then that'll be me pretty much sorted. So I've just done the margins about to the halfway point for the time being. I can do the rest once I've made a bit more of a start, you know, once I've moved in a little bit more. One thing I'll definitely say is sometimes when I read, the lines wiggle about and the words wiggle about. I don't know if that is a neurodivergent thing or what. But what I was finding with these yellow squares is that it was kind of doing the same, and it was really difficult to actually count out the spaces. So there might be a few that aren't even, there might be a few that I've done wrong. It's just really difficult to look at. You know, when I sort of unboxed these and opened these, it was the green that bothered me the most, but at least they were clear and defined. I can't imagine it's going to disrupt me writing in the book very much. But for doing those margins, like I feel like I'm getting a headache coming on. But hey, half of it's done now. I'll do the others another time. This photo is really cute. Unfortunately, I don't have the credit for it again. It's another one I pulled from Pinterest. So yeah, I suppose there's not much else left to do now, except I'm going to shift that to the front because I will use the yellow dots at some point. Oh yeah, I've got another one of these business cards from Megan. I keep this in the back with the dots because what I was finding sometimes is I didn't necessarily have a proper ruler to hand, so just using the edge of a business card was really helpful. And because it's a business card, you know, if I accidentally slip with my pen and put a pen through it, it's not really the end of the world. So that's that. Out with the old and in with the new. It's funny, you know, I was only in this for like 3 weeks, but you know, it bulked up a bit, it got a little bit dented, so it's quite nice to see those two side by side. So that's me pretty much set up in my new field notes. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think about that proposed idea for July and the idea of mixing in vlog footage with the sit down videos like this. It would be a bit different. So yeah, let me know what you think of that idea, what you think might work better, if you prefer just these sort of standard sit down ones. It'd be good to get that feedback. So thank you for watching. Bye bye.